We're in a series called Life is Relationships. Life is Relationships, and we're about halfway through. We're right in the midpoint right now. We've preached a few weeks, and we're going to preach a few more on the same topic. And I think we've talked about some good stuff so far. I think it's been some good things that you can apply to your relationships to have healthy, godly relationships. And I believe there's some really cool stuff coming. I'll give you a sneak surprise preview. Next week, I'm really, really excited. Next week, you're going to want to come back, and you're going to want to bring a friend. This would be the time for that. Next week, I get, for the first time ever, to share the stage with my wife to preach about relationships. Yeah, like that's really exciting because A, she's way cooler than me. B, she's like the calm to my crazy. And so it's going to be one of those moments where you can invite people and you don't have to apologize on your way there and be like, well, the pastor's kind of weird. I mean, that's still true, but this time you'll see like, oh, Chase is like, can be chilled and relaxed, you know. My wife will call me out. It's going to be really exciting. I'm not 100% sure what exactly is going to be said yet. We've been working on it. But I think it's going to be good, and I think you will enjoy the wisdom that she can bring when we talk about relationships next week. So you want to come back. You want to come back, and you want to bring someone to join you with that. So we got some good things coming. We've talked about some good things already, and when I first started this series about 6 months ago, we put this series together, and I was going to preach about one particular topic. And then once we started the series, I changed it. I said, no, this week we're going to talk about something else. I'd been in some conversations with people and thought, no, we'll scrap that. We'll talk about this. And then the beginning of this week, I said, no, we're not going to talk about either of those two things. And I started to think that there's a lot of good stuff in the Bible about relationships that we just weren't able to fit into the other weeks that we've already talked about. There's a lot of things that didn't necessarily fit into what we've already talked about or what we're going to say. And so I'm calling this message today the scraps of the series. They're like the things that they didn't really have a place. They're like the leftovers or like the unwanted, okay? But they fit today. So what are we going to do? It's kind of going to be unique. I have 3 different small conversations that I want to have with you that aren't connected to each other at all. So it's going to be like 3 sermons in one. Now, I say mini and short for your benefit, but who knows, I'm talking. So, but I think it's going to be fun. So my hope and prayer is this, that at least one of the conversations that we dive into today, at least one of them, you'll walk away and say, I needed to hear that today. That one was for me. Maybe not all of them, but I hope at least one you can walk away with today and say, man, that was encouraging. That's going to help me have some healthier relationships. So if you're ready, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, right through this in a fast, exciting way. Are you good? All right. I'm nervous for you. For me, I don't know. I'm not nervous. So here we go. We're going to start in Romans chapter 12 for this first one. Here's what it says in Romans chapter 12, verse 18. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. How many of you have ever heard that verse? Yeah, if you were here a couple weeks ago, last time I preached, I actually ended the message with that verse. I normally talk about this verse in the context of conflict resolution. That when you're in conflict with someone, it's your job to handle you and take care of you, and you do as much as you can for you, but you can't control anyone else. So as much as it depends on you, try to live at peace with everyone. And I really like that, but I like what comes after this in the same passage. How many of you would say that you have some people in your life, I'm going to say it gently, that are difficult to be in relationship with? Don't look at them right now. That's weird. All right, don't just it's okay to raise your hand. We all have people in our life. Maybe for you it's like an actual enemy. Like maybe you have that. Maybe you have some people in life, they're like that. Yeah, they're my enemy. Like we just never works well with us. Maybe it's not that strong. Maybe it's not that intense. Maybe it's just someone that has hurt you, someone that's not very nice to you. Maybe it's just someone that you just don't like. Anybody got any of those people? Some of you are like, Chase, I'm a Christian. I love everybody. Well, so do I. I just don't like everybody. Just kidding. I'm kind of, right? You know, like you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I mean, I love everybody, but there are definitely some people that it's hard to be in a relationship with. Maybe they're your coworkers that you have to have some sort of relationship with, but it can be difficult. There's some people in your family that you're like, we got to be family, so there's got to be a relationship, but it can be difficult. Maybe there's some people sitting in the road near you, just keep looking at me, that you're like, man, we go to church together, but sometimes our personalities it just doesn't always work out well. So this first little conversation, we're going to talk about how to deal with difficult people. How do you live and be at peace with everyone. I think the verses that come after this actually give us a good idea of how that works. So let me keep reading. So it tells us, live at peace with everyone as far as it depends on you. And then it continues and says this, do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, it is mine to avenge, I will repay, says the Lord. Now on the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. In doing so, you will heap burning coals on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. The first thing that I think you got to understand is you got to know what is, we're going to say this, God's job. Okay? What is God's job? And I think we can see that in this verse right here. It says that vengeance, a word that we don't normally use, vengeance, hopefully I spell it right. Vengeance. I try to write as fast as I talk, and I'm just, what? Get about. We're going to say it like this. We'll put an A if you want it there, okay? Vengeance is God's job. We're gonna also put, maybe you like this word payback, or what's the word that I really like? Judgment. Yeah, we like that word. We all really like to be judges of people ourselves. Judgment. Okay, you got to understand from that scripture, what does it say? It says, this is not your job. We have to be able to, when it comes to dealing with difficult people, allow God to do his job. Payback, vengeance, judgment, in his timing, in his way, however he sees fit, that's his job. A lot of us want to be like, well, they hurt me. I'll show them. They were evil to me. Let me see how. You want to know what evil looks like? I'll tell you. We want to repay evil with evil, but pay attention. It says, let God do his job. Your role is to do good. If they're hungry, feed them. If they're thirsty, give them something to drink. And then it says, don't overcome evil with evil, but overcome evil with good. You see it? You saw it? Do you like it? No, right? I see it, I saw it, but let's move on. I don't want to talk about that for a second. This is God's job, and our job looks a little bit different. Now, Jesus kind of expands upon it in one of his most famous sermons. It's called the Sermon on the Mount, and he kind of expands upon this. So I'm gonna just read what he has to say, because he's Jesus, and if you're going to be frustrated with him, like not me, but listen to what he has to say. It's really good. He's talking about the same concept, and he says this in Luke chapter 6. He says, but you who are willing to listen. Anybody ready to listen? You're not going to like what you hear, but if you're ready to listen, listen. I say, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you, and bless those who curse you. Pray for those who hurt you. If someone slaps you on one cheek, offer the other cheek also. If someone demands your coat, offer your shirt also. Give to anyone who asks. And when things are taken away from you, don't try to get them back. Do to others as you would like them to do to you. If you only love those who love you, why should you get credit for that? Even sinners love those who love them. And if you only do good to those who do good to you, why should you get credit for that? For even sinners do that much. And if you lend money only to those who can repay you, why should you get credit? For even sinners will lend to other sinners for a full return. But love your enemies, do good to them, and lend to them without expecting to be repaid. Then your reward from heaven will be very great. And you will truly be acting as children of the Most High. For he is kind to those who are unthankful and wicked. You must be compassionate, just as your Father is compassionate. So if this is God's job, we need to understand ours. And I think from there, you'll see Jesus say a few words that we may need to pay attention to. He says, our job is to love, right? Our job is to love, is to do good. Okay? Our job is to bless, to pray. Ooh, pardon that one. And the last one is to give. This is God's job. This is yours. Okay, do you see that there? He says, if it's your enemy, even if it's your enemy, if you want to know how to deal with difficult people, love, do good, bless, pray, give. That's how you respond to someone that's hurting you. That's how you respond to someone that's not kind to you. That's how you respond to someone that's difficult. Now, let me pause real quick. I want to mention this. This is not about abusive relationships that you're in, okay? God is clear that if you're in an abusive relationship, get out of that. Leave that. I'm not saying continue to stay in an emotional or physical abusive situation and I'll just keep loving them. Now, that's not this. This is for people that are unkind, for people that are difficult with you. Like, this is where we're called to, this is our job. But we have to let God do his job in his timing, in his way, how he wants to handle it. You're going to have difficult people. But what I love about this verse, what I love about this is it not only gives us our role, but it tells us what we look like when we live like this. Did you catch it? It said, people who live this way act like children of the Most High. That means if you're a child of God, you're a follower of Christ, you're a Christian, this is how you respond to difficult people. This is what sets us apart from the world, people that don't love Jesus. This is what sets us apart. We respond differently to difficulties, to difficult people. And then he says, and you will be truly like the children of the Most High, for he is kind to those who are unthankful and wicked. So you must be compassionate, just like your Father is compassionate. You want to be like Jesus, you want to be like God, you want to live like him. We need to be compassionate and kind to other people. Have you ever prayed for someone that you don't like and that's been mean to you? Anybody ever done that? Sometimes I've done that, and it starts like this. Dear God, may they get what they deserve. You are a strong God. Yes, you are mighty. Give them what they deserve. But Lord, forgive me for my sin. Please give me your love and kindness and mercy and grace for all the mistakes I've made, but make sure that they pay. Maybe it doesn't go exactly like that. Obviously, you would never pray like that. Maybe I have. But normally, when I begin to pray for someone that I've had some difficulties with, I begin to see them as God sees me. I begin to say, God, give them what they... No, don't give them what they deserve, because you don't give me what I deserve. Lord, let me see them like you see me. Give me your eyes so I can see that maybe they're going through something right now in their life that's causing them to act in that way. Give me your eyes to see what they're dealing with right now that is making them become a difficult person. May I assume the best, that they're not trying to just be evil and mean to me. Help me see them the way you see them. Help me love them the way you love them. And give me your grace and your mercy and kindness so I can take that and pass it along. You could begin to pray for people that are difficult with you and begin to change your ways. So I'll give you a silly example. You've heard me say that I have road rage, like a legit issue, I think. It's mostly when people just don't know how to drive. Like me. So most of the time it's the speed in which they're driving, or the fact that they don't pull out as fast as I would have pulled out across the road. And so what normally happens is most of the time I get frustrated and angry, and I have to work on that. And believe me, I'm actually working on it. Like I say it as a joke, but it's like inside of me, I just like. So sometimes, I don't say this all the time because I'm a sinner trying to do my best here. But sometimes what I'll do is I legitimately have to say this out loud. God, maybe that person in front of me is going so slow because there's something real going on in their life. I'm like, but they're still going slow, Maybe the reason they won't pull out so quickly is because the last time they did, they got in an accident. And it's scary. Maybe they're trying to be extra cautious because they have kids in the car and they care about their kids. And I'm just like, let's go, dude. Maybe there's more going on. And honestly, I say that at times to help me realize that this it's not a difficult person, but it's, for me, they're a difficult person. I'm trying to get somewhere and they're keeping me from doing what I want to do. And so it's a very silly, simple thing. But what if you saw people in your life like that? What if you began to ask God to help you see people like he sees people? So this first piece was this conversation was about how to deal with difficult people. How to live at peace with everyone. First, understand God's job is vengeance, payback, judgment, not yours. But your job is to love, do good, bless, pray, and give. Everybody say number 2? Someone said they don't like when I do that, so I did it. I won't do it the next time, but I did it that time. All right, so we're gonna forget everything we just said, and we're gonna go into a second conversation. Remember, these 3 different conversations don't necessarily have anything to do with each other. They're just scraps from the series that I thought we needed to talk about. So in Galatians chapter 6, we're gonna go there. And here's what I want to do. I want to show you what I saw so you can see it. And then I want to help you see that we didn't see what we saw. Did you catch it? I want to show you what I saw so you can see it, but then I want you to see that what we saw wasn't exactly what we saw, or we thought we saw. Duh. seen. Anyway, here we go. Pay attention to the first verse and the last verse. Galatians 6, chapter 2, it says this, carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. If anyone thinks they are something when they are not, they deceive themselves. Each one should test their own actions. Then they can take pride in themselves alone without comparing themselves to someone else. For each one should carry their own load. Did you see it? Has it been seen? You seen it? You see that those two kind of sound the same? Carry each other's burdens, but each one should carry their own load. Okay. When I first saw this, I thought, well, that's silly. Like, they're saying two different things in the very same place. But I don't think they are. Can I give you a little bit of do some work on this piece of paper for you to help you see that, oh, hi there. That's not exactly what's going on here. So the first word in verse number 2 is burden, okay? So this is this idea, it's translated in this translation, burden. And the Greek word that I don't know how to say, and I'm not going to say, but the Greek word carries this idea of weight, heaviness. No, how come sometimes when you go to spell, you just totally forget how to spell? Heaviness? Whatever, just deal with that. You come up here and write in front of a bunch of people. It's weird. Like, nothing looks right, you know? Or trouble. See, now I'm probably messing some of you up because I'm using all capital letters and not all capital letters, and that's probably driving some of you crazy. So this Greek word it's a weight, a heaviness, a trouble. Some believe that this word and this idea in this context is actually talking about sins that we're dealing with that are too much for us to bear and go through alone. Struggles and sins that we're going through that we need someone else to come alongside us and help us carry the burden. Okay, now let me show you. The last verse says this, we translate it in this translation, load, and it says this. It's, when you look it up and you look at the Greek word, it's this concept, it talks about it being personal. One phrase that I looked up and saw, it said that it's an individual's cargo to carry that's not transferable. Okay. It's individual, not transferable. I wanted to say cargo, but I was talking. It's cargo. So what I see is when I picture burden, I want you to picture a boulder. You know what a boulder is? I don't know. Don't laugh. Some people might not know what a boulder is. Like a big rock. I had to look it up, all right? It's a boulder, okay? Like a giant weight that is heavy, that's difficult for one person to carry by themselves. Now, when you think of the word load in this context, I want you to think of what you all call a backpack and what I have learned my entire life to be called a book bag. Moved to Michigan, I start saying, kids, get your book bag. And they're like, our teacher says it's a backpack. And I was like, well, what do you put in it? Books. Why do they call it a backpack? Because it goes on your back. All right, I know, but I'm still confused. I'm going to do my best to call it a book bag to satisfy the Michiganders in the room. But it's a backpack, okay? Oh, no. Yeah, I messed up. It's a book, whatever. It's a book bag. Whatever. All right. You know where I was going. I was trying to make fun of you, and I ended up messing up myself. All right. The book bag. Wait, no, you call it the backpack. The backpack. All right, I got it. So when you think of load, sorry, let's get back on track. When you think of load, think of backpack. There are two straps for your two shoulders. There are things in your life that are meant for you to carry. There's weights and responsibilities that are yours to bear. Okay, you understand? If I ask someone to come up here and help share my backpack, it would look silly, right? You'd be like, no, give me that. No, I got it. No, you get it. Like, we'd look a little ridiculous up here because a backpack is meant to be worn by one person. And so I want you to think of load as personal cargo, knapsack, or backpack. There are things in your life that are yours. Now, there are other things in your life that are boulders, burdens, that the Bible tells us that we're called to help carry one another's burdens, to share the load with others. There are some things that you struggle with and you're dealing with that you didn't ask for that come into your life that are heavy, that are trouble, that are weighty. And you need help carrying that. So the reason this impacts relationships, the reason this is an important verse for relationships is because for in our own life, we need to be able to recognize what is ours to carry, what is our backpack that is meant for us, and not try and put that on somebody else. We need to also recognize that there are things in our life that were meant to be shared, that we need help with. And it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to receive help. And in other people's lives, we need to see what is their backpack and quit letting them give us their backpack, or quit trying to put on their backpack and carry a weight and responsibilities that's theirs. But we also need to pay attention and know that we are called to share burdens with one another. Does that make sense? Do you see the difference? Half and half. All right. If you don't respond, I'm going to explain the whole thing all over again. Did you see the difference? Yeah, we got it. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, we're good. I know exactly what you're saying next, too, so why don't we just close it up and go home? Let me give you two little examples. Maybe they won't work. Maybe they will. But picture in a work environment, there's the one coworker that's constantly not organizing his responsibilities correctly, and so he ends up passing a lot of things off onto you. And you begin to take things that are his weight and his responsibility, and it's starting to stress you out and cause you problems. And you're like, well, wait a second. Isn't that their role? Isn't that their backpack that I end up putting on mine? And so it's causing some issues at work. Have you ever been a part of that where it's like, wait, that's not my job? So someone can end up taking their backpack and putting it on your shoulders, and you need to set a boundary and say, wait, I'll help you. There are times where I can help you, but if I'm all the time doing your job, then how am I going to do my job? Okay. Or maybe there's some marriages in the room that there's one spouse that's carrying all the weight of the parenting. And now, I'm not going to say children are a burden to bear. I'm going to say they're a joyful blessing that is meant to be shared with both of you. And there are times where one spouse is taking all that weight and all that responsibility of caring for the kids and raising the kids and disciplining the kids and trying to help the kids, and the other spouse is just chilling back with their feet up on the couch watching TV. Well, you see that? Like, this is a burden to be shared. Maybe that didn't work for you. I don't know. Here's the point. You need to be able to recognize that in your life what's yours and what you need help with. You need to recognize in other people's lives what's theirs and what you can help with. Because there are loads that we bear and burdens that we share. I stole that from someone after the first service. I thought it was good. There are loads that we bear and burdens that we share. The way I said it was, you need to understand what load is yours to carry, and what burden is yours to be sharing. E. Anyway, I like theirs better. You feeling it? You good? Yeah. Can we move on? Yeah. You're great. Thank you so much. That will lead us right into number 3. And you're not, it'll make sense. You'll laugh in a second on to why that was good. Thanks for that lead. It's unhealthy when we're trying to carry someone else's book bag, backpack, whatever. All right, number 3. I gotta take this off. Making me crazy. All right, number 3. Last little mini conversation I want to have with you guys. Galatians 1 says this: obviously, I'm not trying to win the approval of people, but of God. If pleasing people were my goal, I would not be Christ's servant. There are a lot of places in the Bible that talk about this concept of being people pleasers or God pleasers, of pleasing people or pleasing God. I could turn to John, and in John it talks about people who love the praise of humans more than the praise of God and how that's not okay. I could turn to the book of Acts where Peter is being told not to do something, and he looks at the guy and says, we're called to obey God, not obey men. We could look into Colossians 3 where it says, whatever you do, work as for the Lord, not for man. Whatever you're doing, remember you're doing it ultimately for the Lord, not just for men. Or in 1 Corinthians says, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it for the glory of God. And in 1 Thessalonians, Paul in 1 Thessalonians 2, Paul says our purpose. He's speaking to people and says, hey, you want to know our purpose? Our purpose is to please God, not people. And what I like about Galatians, the one I shared with you, is it says, if I was trying to please people, if that was my goal, I wouldn't be Christ's servant. He's saying, if you're trying to be a follower of Christ, it's going to be difficult if you spend all your time trying to please other people. It's going to be stressful. Because you were not created to live for others. Let me write one last thing up on here. You were not created to please others. We were created to what? To love others. Would you agree? You see in the Bible it says love others, right? That's a pretty big theme throughout Scripture. But we're called to live for God. Like we need to be loving others, but we need to be living for God. We're not called to please people, but to please and live for God. And I think there's too many of us that at times in our life we're living for the approval and the applause of people. Well, I just want to make sure I don't offend anyone. I want to make sure that people like me. I want to make sure that people approve of what I'm doing. And so we begin to let other people control how we live because we base our life off of how they see us and will they approve us and will they like us and will they applaud me for this and will I get people saying, you did a good job, Chase. See how that was funny now that it came back? But what if we cared more about what God thought of us? Because, you can never please everyone all the time. What if instead of living for the approval and the applause of others, we live to please God and to praise God? I mean, this is our purpose, to please God and to praise God, to live to give Him glory. I think that's what would make us have healthy relationships with people because they wouldn't control us anymore. Now, I can be honest and say I saved this one for last because this is a personal struggle of mine. I know there are a lot of people that you care way too much about what other people think of you. And I can recognize that sometimes, but to be honest, in a place in my life is when I come to preach, I oftentimes will come to prepare a sermon and I'll be thinking, well, will people like that? Will they think I'm a great preacher afterwards? Will somebody come up to me and say, Chase, you're just the best? And I begin to prepare a sermon based on how you are going to praise me. Will they approve of how I lead? Will they approve of what I have to say and what I have to do? Instead of going to the Scripture and saying, God, you have called me to preach. What would honor you? What would please you? How can I live for you and not for other people? And sometimes I get caught up in that. I like you all, and I want you all to like me. Say we do. We do. But if I'm living for that, I think that's a problem. If that's my motivation, every time I speak or every time I make a decision or every time I get up to do something, if living for people and pleasing people is your motivation for what car you drive or what house you live in or how much money you make, you just want people to like you, so hopefully you'll make enough money and hopefully you'll have that position of honor and then people will like me and I'll be approved by my friends and they'll please me and they'll praise me. If that's what you're living for, that's got to be exhausting. But if every day you woke up and said, God, I want to honor you with my life. I want to do what pleases you. When I go to work, if it's honorable to you and it gives you glory, that's the decision I want to make. In the car I drive or the house that I live in, whatever it is, Lord, I want to use your glory to honor you. Like what if we weren't so worried about the approval and the applause of people, but we were worried about pleasing and praising God? I think that would help us. I think that would help us in our relationship. I think it'd help us in relationship with others because we weren't intended to live for their applause. I think it would help us in our relationship with God because ultimately the greatest relationship that we have is one with the Father. So let me tie all these three together today, even though they're kind of three mini little sermons. Relationships are not always easy. Agreed? Yeah. Some of you, it's me, we have some difficult people in our life. And to live at peace with all men, to live at peace with everyone, requires us to let God be God. And our role is to love, do good, bless, pray for, and give. We also need to remember that we need people. Relationships can be difficult, but they're essential for this life. We need to make sure that we're helping one another bear each other's burdens, but that we're not trying to pass off our own responsibilities and our own weight onto other people. And then we ultimately need to remember that our relationship with God is primo, is most important, needs to be number one priority in our life. We don't live for the approval or the applause of others. We live to please God and to praise God. And how do we please God? It starts with a relationship with Him. And then we worry more every day about honoring Him than pleasing the world. I'll close with this. I've heard it once said that Christ died for us. The least we can do is live for Him. He died for us. We need to live for Him. And I hope and pray that people would look at my life and they would describe me as someone that loves others, but clearly he lives for God. Hope and prayer is that's the same for you. Maybe today you needed to be reminded of how to handle some difficult relationships. Maybe today you need to be encouraged that you need to seek some help for some boulders in your life, or you need to start paying attention to your responsibilities and figure that out. Or maybe you just need to be reminded that God is ultimate relationship in your life, that you need to put Him first. I don't know what it is, but hopefully you take one of these scraps and you can walk away and put it into your life and have healthier relationships than you did when you walked in the door. Let's pray. Lord, we thank you for the love that you give us. Help us to transfer that love to those around us. God, we thank you for your word and how it helps us live this life in the way that we were intended to live it. And we will never be perfect, but we can strive to please you and praise you in all that we do. And so I pray that we walk out of here today with our focus turning from ourselves, turning from pleasing others to turning towards you and you alone. May you receive all glory and honor and praise with our life and everything we think and say and do. It's in your name we pray.